Coming up on First at 4, one Eastern Kentucky church is providing people facing financial insecurity with another way to put food on the table. And millions of children in the U.S. could be eligible for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine as soon as next week.
And watching showers and storms work through the mountains this afternoon. I'll have the latest look at Pinpoint Doppler coming up. First at 4 is next.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good Monday afternoon to you. I'm Dakota Makris. First at 4, we've been watching the potential for strong to severe thunderstorms in the mountains today as strong cold front works through the region. Meteorologist Evan Hatter has the latest on this severe weather alert day. Evan.
That's right, Dakota. We're still keeping an eye on a cold front that is working right through the Commonwealth at this moment. Right now, nothing severe, but we'll take you to Pinpoint Doppler in just a second. First, our camera from UVA-wise showing we had a little bit of sunshine earlier on today, but we had that heavy rain continuing to move on in, and even now in the distance you're seeing some of those low clouds out there. We're still sitting at just 59 at Buffalo Mountain where the overcast is overhead here in Perry County. Temperatures have been on the cooler side. We saw a little bit of an outbreak of sunshine there for a moment into the Cumberland Valley and places just north. So places like Irvin, Monticello, and Somerset getting up not far from 70. Most of the rest of us, though, upper 50s to lower 60s. Here's the latest on Pinpoint Doppler. This morning's heavy rain pushing on out of Dickinson and Buchanan counties at this point, but you look out to the west and we're watching west of Moorhead, west of Irvin, west of the Powell County line. That's where we're watching the latest on our cold front beginning to work on in. Even a few showers not far from McKee right now. Now the entire area remains, just about the entire area I should say, remains under a 1 out of 5 marginal risk for severe weather as we head through the overnight hours. We'll see if that gets trimmed back a little bit as this cold front moves through, and you see what we're talking about. There's that front pushing on through right now with the low pressure just to our north. Now, keep that WYMT weather app handy as we go through tonight. If there are any warnings, you'll get alerted immediately, but otherwise you can see our forecast, which has us cooling off quick behind that front. We keep the clouds around, but we drop those temperatures into the 40s overnight. I'll have that full breakdown on just when the dry weather returns coming up in just a bit. Dakota?
All right, Evan, thank you. One Eastern Kentucky church hosted a ribbon-cutting ceremony for its new food pantry today. Our Chaz Jenkins was there and has more from Letcher County.
I'm here at New Freedom Worship Center, where the city of Jenkins now has access to a new food pantry. With help from God's Pantry Food Bank in Lexington, the Vision Food Pantry is now offering food to those who need it in the area. This is not their first effort to help feed people throughout the community, as church members with New Freedom Worship Center have been hosting soup kitchens for 5 years. However, with help from the city and community, Pastor Danny Quillen says it was time to expand.
We're also going to have emergency food boxes, and if people needs food, toward the end of the month or whatever to help them get over the hump, we're going to do that. And this is our goal, to try to help everybody in the city and the community.
Those with the Vision Food Pantry are asking the community for food donations and volunteers. In Letcher County, Chaz Jenkins, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, leaders say they are already in talks of expanding even further. The plan is to someday use another building to possibly donate clothing and furniture. Well, another space hosted an opening today as the University of Pikeville Elliott School of Nursing welcomed people to an open house for its new skills and simulation labs. The labs, complete with state-of-the-art technology and equipment, offer a new setting for students to work on simulated patients before entering the workforce. A new offering that university representatives say they are excited to see come to fruition as the program continues to grow.
Much of the work that went in designing the facility, our faculty and our staff worked very hard and diligently doing research and trying to develop a footprint that would service the current students we have and the ability to be able to grow our program.
Well, officials say the labs come at a perfect time as the need for nurses becomes more obvious across the region. We will hear more about that coming up tonight at 11. A social media threat out of Missouri caused a lot of anxiety across the country this past weekend. The post originated on Snapchat, threatening a shooting at, quote, Central High School. It quickly spread, with school districts here in Kentucky receiving calls asking if the threats were credible. Since it originated online, figuring out who was behind it was more difficult than a verbal threat.
We can go and physically interview the kid or the parents, and sometimes maybe come to a quicker end result. With social media, it is a little more difficult.
Now, while the threat was not at Kentucky schools, school officials and police thanked parents who reached out to inform them of the potential threat and encouraged anyone who sees something to say something. The Kentucky Wildcats are getting back into the swing of things after a week off. WYMT's John Lowe joins us now from Lexington with the latest from head coach Mark Stoops' weekly news conference.
Well, the season goes on here in Lexington after a 1-week layoff. Mark Stoops holding his weekly news conference ahead of the Wildcats' final interdivision game against Mississippi State. Coach saying that he likes how his team responded over the course of the bye week following the loss to Georgia. Still no real update on several of the injuries the Wildcats are dealing with, such as Josh Ali and Marquand McCall. But Coach did speak a little bit on the unique challenge set for this weekend in a hostile road environment in Starkville, facing Mike Leach's air raid offense.
Going on the road to Mississippi State in Mike Leach's second year, we know will be a real challenge. They have done some very good things this year in all phases. And you could see offensively, which is really is no surprise to anybody.
All right, now the Mississippi State game is set for a 7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. We'll have much more on this matchup coming up later on this evening on Sports, brought to you by Pikeville Medical Center. But for now, in Lexington, John Lowe, WYMT Mountain Sports.
All right, John, thank you. Heading over to Wall Street on this Monday, the Dow closes up more than 66 points. We'll have more financial news in our next half hour. The Biden administration is working to make sure you don't have to wait in line to test for COVID this winter. The National Institutes of Health is investing $70 million to bring more over-the-counter at-home tests to the market. That money comes from the COVID relief package passed earlier this year. The NIH is also working to establish an accelerated pathway for the Food and Drug Administration to evaluate and approve tests for large-scale manufacturing. Well, millions of children in the U.S. could be eligible for Pfizer's COVID vaccine as soon as next week. An FDA panel meets tomorrow to consider recommending emergency use authorization for children ages 5 to 11, followed by a CDC vote next week. CBS's Bradley Blackburn has more from New York.
Children ages 5 to 11 could start getting vaccinated against COVID-19 as soon as early November. An FDA advisory committee is meeting Tuesday to consider recommending emergency use authorization of the low-dose Pfizer vaccine.
The data look good as to the efficacy and the safety.
A review by the agency found Pfizer's pediatric vaccine is nearly 91% effective at preventing symptomatic COVID, with the benefits outweighing the risks of the most serious side effects. That includes myocarditis, a rare heart condition that's been linked to the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines in young men. The inflammation usually subsides on its own in a matter of days. The Biden administration has purchased enough vaccine for the country's 28 million children in that age bracket.
Vaccinating children will be really important for us to be able to return to normal life as we know it.
If the FDA formally signs off on the 2-dose vaccine, kids ages 5 to 11 will be able to get shots at pediatricians' offices and even schools. Mom Kaylee Becker wants her 9-year-old son vaccinated.
We're looking forward to the day that he is, so we can have a matching set of protected kids.
It could also be a game changer for holiday gatherings.
Families that seek their first shot by mid-November, that those children will be considered fully vaccinated by the winter holidays at the end of December.
Moderna says its half-dose vaccine showed a strong immune response in children ages 6 to 11. The company plans to submit data to regulators soon. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Well, COVID-19 was likely spreading around the United States and Europe long before we realized it. A new study says transmission of the coronavirus was likely occurring in several areas across Europe and the United States by January 2020. Many infections could have gone undetected. The researchers estimate that by early March, only 1 to 3 in 100 coronavirus infections were detected by surveillance systems. The study is based on a model of COVID-19 transmission during the first wave of the pandemic. The model's findings, originally released last year, were published Monday in the journal Nature. Well, after wildfires earlier this year, a bomb cyclone is now giving the West Coast more to worry about with high winds relentless rainfall, and even heavy snow.
And we've got our own weather worries to contend with. Showers and storms are bringing in much cooler weather for the rest of the week. I'll have the latest straight ahead.